Hi, I'm Mike D from the band Killswitch Engage, and we're going to be talking about my two Pomeranians, Sprocket, who's the youngest, 3, and Maverick, who is the older, and he is 9.
Oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting the age difference.
Yeah, well, Maverick was my girlfriend's, at the time, my girlfriend's dog, and now we're married, so now enveloped into the family. And we thought that he needed a friend. And now that we have a little guy, we think that he needs a friend. So we're talking about n number 3, but it's really hard with boarding. And, I travel for a living, so we constantly have to get sitters and stuff like that. And it tends to be a little bit more of a parade with 3 rather than 2.
Yeah, I can understand that. Well, looking through your social media to kind of gather some information about your dogs, I kind of see there's kind of 2 eras for you. And I would say you've got the Party Poms era that you're currently in, and
Yes.
your past era is the Adventure Pugs.
Haha. Yes. I had 2 pugs with my previous marriage, Potato and Raisin. We tried to come up with names that they would grow into. Uh, you'd think that. Great dogs, amazing, really adapted to our lifestyle, which is what pugs are known to do. If you sit on the couch, they are happily ready to sit on top of you on the couch. Pugs love to be next to their owner, at least mine did, constantly on our laps or laying on our feet. Even when they were puppies, they just needed to be next to that warmth, which was really cool. I think the Poms are a little more slightly standoffish, but our little one is really hung up on my wife. And anytime that mother comes home, he flips out and goes crazy.
That's funny. Um, Given the Party Poms, I mean, that's kind of, I think that's their Instagram handle. I forget.
It is, yes.
But to just embrace that moniker, I saw that they went on your mini honeymoon.
So we had, yeah, one of them likes to bark. The older one really likes to bark. So we weren't sure how they were going to do at the wedding. So we had some sitters bring them in for a couple hours. So they were in the wedding, but taken out of this crazy house of tons of people where they get all flustered and not know what to do. So they were in the wedding for a little while and then dropped back off to us right as we were leaving. We had a wedding house. And right as we were leaving to go to our mini moon, they dropped the dogs off with us, and we took them with us, and we're able to spend another couple of days with them and just kind of recuperating from the wedding.
Um, Another thing I noticed actually with both dogs is you love dressing them up.
They don't
So
like to
much
be dressed
so
up, but
they don't like to be, you like to dress them up, but they're not so
exactly.
much.
Yeah, most dogs that I own run out of the room whenever um, cloth garments are all pulled out. Whether they don't want to be smothered by, I attack them by chasing them around with a t-shirt or something like I'm going to net them or put them on them, which they don't like either of those things.
That's funny. And I think it might have been Maverick who actually won the scariest costume at a Boston Halloween parade. It was your wife
Ah,
as Edward Scissorhands, and either Maverick or Sprocket was the dinosaur bush that he
this
was
is
trimming.
this is pre-Sprocket, and yeah, Maverick went as the dinosaur bush. Yeah, they did really well. My wife loves to do Halloween costumes. She went as Up, the house from Up with the balloons,
Right.
and the 2 dogs. The one dog was the Boy Scout, and then the other dog was the old man. So that worked. That went really well.
Well,
Lots.
going back to Raisin and Potato, they seem to have plenty of costumes as well. Is there a favorite of yours? Like the little German children, or I guess that's the one that sticks out in my mind.
They
Little
had some Star
Lederhosen.
they had some Star Wars harnesses. One was Chewbacca and one was Darth Vader that looked really cool on them. They didn't like them, but yeah, I had some really great shots of them being Star Wars people.
Yeah. Now, I pitched this show as like spreading the gospel of how great dogs are. And I found a great post that you had back in 2017 that said, if you're feeling depressed, a pup is the perfect way to make you happy again. These two melt my heart daily. And we're talking raisin and potato. This is the raisin and potato era. what makes you a dog guy? Does this go back to your childhood?
I grew up with dogs ever since I was 0. My parents had a dog. We had cats too. Um, I just gravitated towards dogs. They were more of a best friend for me growing up. I could always rely on my dog Chippy to be there around. It was a familiar friend that I had that I would always come home from school and know that he was going to be there and greet me as dogs do. Um, I lost touch with dogs when I left the house and went on my own life. Started up with cats with my next live-in girlfriend, and that grew back into dogs, and I fell back in love with my love with dogs probably 10 years after I left my house, and it's been all dogs ever since.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's great to see again the Raisin Potato era. You know, you like many of my guests, you have these posts that you say it's tough to leave these guys. Can't wait to see these guys. You know, you like you said, you're always given this is a musician podcast focused on dogs. You guys are always on the road, always away from your pets. What is it that you miss about them? Is it that they do represent home and the comforts of home, or is it bigger than that?
Definitely that. There's the love that we share just as owner and dog. Just the fun things that they do every single day that you can't quantize. You can't say, oh, they're going to do this today because you have no idea. It's just the surprises that they give you each and every day. Something new is going to happen and be super funny. And when you're not home to witness that, they just go unnoticed. So it's really cool. Just sit back and watch them play or just have fun or just the little interactions that they have with my wife or me. Just gives you that little glimmer of home and when you're on the road you can really miss just being on the couch, just the everyday throes of life.
Yeah, yeah. Well, on that note too, on being on the road, I noticed you do have one post where you and the rest of the band are with dogs backstage. I think it was the Bright Eyes Dog Rescue probably had a visitation backstage. I think Motley Zoo might have done the same thing. And it's funny that the caption was trying to look tough.
With the little puppies. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, we're in a metal band. We're supposed to be these tough guys. We're definitely not. But it's great to break up the monotony of being on the road with someone delivering puppies that all you have to do is play with them or just speak about how great it is to own dogs in general. So
yeah.
it's a really cool way to just break up the monotony of just being on the road. And um, that was a super fun day. We have lots of really cool photos that we could share with people from that day.
Does that happen more often? Does that happen on occasion? I just noticed that one incident that was kind of photographed.
Yeah, it doesn't happen as often as I'd like. I would do it every other day on tour if possible. Definitely lots of towns that we go to where there's dogs that are in need. But they happen to reach out to us and
Mhm.
made it happen.
That's great.
Calling
Now,
all dog places, we'll do it for sure.
yeah,
Bring them
well,
down to the venue. We love to play with dogs.
if you come through town, I'll hit you up.
All right, great.
Bigger picture, I discovered that you're either vegetarian or vegan.
Yes, both. Vegetarian since 1991 and vegan since 2019.
Okay. I'm kind of on a similar journey. I went vegetarian a year ago, year and a half ago, and I'm curious what started it for you going back to when you first started vegetarianism.
So, vegetarianism, it was probably the furthest thing from my mind. I went to a Hare Krishna temple. There was a singer from a band called Shelter. His name was Ray Capo, who was speaking, and they're known for being vegans. And there was just a lot of talk about um, how how frivolous it is that if I'm hungry at night to go and get something out of my fridge that or just to have something killed just because I want a snack. just kind of got to me. It ate at my brain, so to speak. It was one of those thought viruses that, am I really that great that I need to have something killed just because I want to eat? So that was the impetus of being vegetarian at 1991. At age 19, just really thinking about, wow, I'm not that important that I need to have something killed. I'm not a king. I don't need to
Yeah.
have something ordered to be killed just because I'm hungry. Or maybe I'm not even hungry. Maybe I just want to shove something in my face. It just didn't seem right to me. So
Yeah.
that was how that turned out.
Well, that goes back a long ways, and it couldn't have been easy because I think more and more recent years, there's a lot more options. It reminds me, I mean, this goes way back, but did you happen to read Geezer Butler's biography?
I didn't know.
He's a vegetarian too, and if you go back to the 70s, he's talking about like being on tour, having no options, and I think he like pulled radishes out of the ground to a farm next to the venue to eat. So I guess my point is you must have had your struggles in the early 90s when it's just not as prevalent.
Yeah, I really started my touring career in
Okay.
99-ish with this band. My other bands didn't really tour as much, so it wasn't, and when it was in the States, which is generally pretty easy, at least for being vegetarian to eat. Now that Killswitch is at the 25th year, I've definitely had some practice with not being able to eat in certain places. South America, I found was really hard this past time that we were there. I should probably learn some Spanish since I'm right next right next to there, being in the United States. But I took French when I was a kid in school because I thought, oh, it's the alternate. Like everyone's taken Spanish. Little did I know it didn't come in handy at all, and I should have taken Spanish to learn how to eat. That was an issue. In Japan, I carry a card with me, a little laminated card that has in Japanese, I don't eat this, I don't eat this, I don't eat this. Do you have anything for me? And usually I hand it to somebody, they'll look at it, they'll read it, they'll laugh, and then they go, ah, and then they'll come in and then make me something,
That's
a little
great.
bit special. Yeah, has not been easy. It's gotten way easier. And now that I'm vegan, I feel like I'm starting all over again. It feels like the old Wild West of back when I was being vegetarian in 1991, where people are just warming up to being vegan. It's easy in the States. It's real easy in Australia, which I was really stoked about. We were just there supporting Iron Maiden. Um, but in Europe, you really have to know places at this point. So it's getting out there. I became vegan because I came home from we had just done a record release for the last Killswitch record in LA, and my then girlfriend, now wife, and I came home to an empty fridge, and we're like, if we were ever going to try to be vegan, why don't we try now? We have to buy all new food right now. Why don't we just give it a shot? Like, what's the worst that could happen? We could throw it out and not like it, and just go back to being vegetarian, and we've just continued on ever since then. So
That's great.
5 years.
And before I forget, going back to 1991, where were you living at the time? Were you in and around Boston? So,
Yeah, about 20 minutes outside of Boston.
okay, so you had a major metropolitan area at least to have a little bit of progressive food, I would, for lack of a better term.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Now, I have a note for the Adventure Pugs, just to briefly go back to Raisin and Potato. To me, what I could see their adventures were kayaking, hiking. Was there anything else that comes to mind that they were into?
Yeah, they love to do everything. They just wanted to be around you, and if you were having fun, then they were having fun, which is amazing notation to that breed is just how great they were with people.
And
Um,
how did you come upon the pug breed as an owner, becoming an owner?
hmm. It was just a dog that I was really interested in. My ex-wife was really interested in. We had always talked about, oh, if we were ever going to get a pug, we would name him Porky. I
Party
don't know
Pug, I
why.
love it.
Yeah, I have no idea why, but that was always the joke we would talk about. And then we finally got the first pug, and we're just enamored by its attitude. And then the amount of play that this dog had was unreal. It acted like a puppy even at like 2 and 3, just constantly wanting to play and then crying if we wouldn't play with it. So we naturally got him a friend. So we've always been like a two-dog family. They always kind of naturally need some sort of a friend to like run around with and have good times if you're not available to play with them. But I kind of wouldn't mind getting back into pugs at some point. They're just a really naturally fun breed.
Yeah, they look very funny. And I guess with adventure comes injury. How did Raisin break break its leg?
I think she had a tendon issue a couple times. Just jumping up and down off the couch can be
Okay.
a hassle. We have stairs now, so it's just easier on the legs. Especially Pomeranians are known to have issues with legs, especially back legs, jumping up and down on top of things. And I just wanted to nip that in the bud before it got to be too serious. Raisin had two issues with that, just playing extra hard and jumping around and hurting herself. Uh, Never a super big issue, though, thankfully.
Yeah. And how about poor Potato at one point lost an eye?
Yeah, that was a sad one. Scratched it. That is another thing that pugs are known for. Their big eyes and the ease of scratching. So if you have cats or whatever, you got to watch out for something like that. Potato had scratched his eye, and in like 3 days, it went from terrible to, oh my God, this thing might have to come out, which is real scary. Uh,
Yeah.
and then it happened, and as soon as that happened, he scratched the other eye. So
Oh,
you thought for sure that he was going to be blind. So we were taking precautions to, make sure that that other eye didn't go away. And thankfully, we were able to save it for the lifetime of the dog. But it was always an issue that, oh no, he's got another laceration in his eye. And it seemed to be a thing that happened to that dog often, whereas Raisin, it didn't happen as much. Just making sure that their dew claws are trimmed, um, and maybe that when they play, that they don't play, closer to the face.
right.
It was definitely scary though.
Oh, I bet.
They
Especially,
learned to adapt though, which is great. He lost the eye. He was a little bummed for a bit, and then he gained his vision back in the one eye and the depth perception, and he was fine after that. They learned to adapt, which
yeah.
is great.
Yeah, that's kind of an ongoing theme, how resilient these little guys are. Well, I wind down every show with what I call the zoomies, and that's just five fast, frivolous questions. The first being, do you let your dogs lick your face?
I do, not out of control because they could tend to do that a little too much. Um, but yeah, enough, enough.
Okay. That's my kiss question. It used to be, do you kiss your dog on the mouth? But
I
I don't think people really understood the question.
I
Second
don't.
question, this could be for any of the four dogs we've discussed today, but do any of them have a theme song? Do they have if they had walk-up music to the plate, what would it be?
I would say for all of them, kiss crazy nights. Just crazy, 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 crazy dogs. Definitely makes sense.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Question three, hypothetically, I'm assuming neither of these dogs have been to a gig or have toured any amount of time. If they did, what would they want on their tour rider?
Lots of bones, lots of treats. Occasionally, they would make it on the bus if I didn't have a sitter, and then they would stay on the bus until after the show and then come running out. Joel has two Bostons that he brings every so often, and they go on the bus. So all four dogs will kind of intermingle and hang out in the back lounge and play
That's
around,
great.
which is real fun. Um, I've never seen Adam has never really taken his dogs too much to the bus. Once or twice maybe. He's got pit bulls, so they don't. The small dogs and the pit bulls don't really
Hmm.
interact so well. But it's good to have. gigantic dogs on the bus as opposed to
Yeah.
little guys who can run in and out of bunks and maybe pee on someone's pillow by mistake, which has happened.
Now I notice you're this is a side tangent, but you're very prolific artist in your own right. Do the dogs ever make part of your art? I noticed you had a Death Ray Vision tee at one point, but do they ever show up on your guitar picks or any other place graphically?
Let's see. Definitely guitar picks. We had some Raisin and Potato guest passes for a Killswitch Engage tour, and laminates. One was of Raisin riding a little hobby horse. We got a with a little cowboy hat on.
Love that. Okay, back to the Zoomies. Question four is, do you have a dog voice? Do you speak to your dogs in a high-pitched head voice or anything baby voice? And secondly, do you channel a voice for them? Do you mimic what they would sound like?
I guess you have to, right? Because you want to get inside their head. Yeah, I definitely have a high-pitched dog voice. Hi, Betty, how are you doing? They're probably looking at me now. Um, I mean, I think everyone has to like get on their level, possibly, or I don't know. You always tend to get a tail wag when you talk in a really high voice, as opposed to the deep voice that tells them no or
Yeah,
tells
for
them
sure.
they're doing something wrong. So if you keep it light, they usually know that they're good boys.
Yeah. Now with Sprocket and Maverick, do you channel a voice? Do you imagine what they would sound like given a human voice?
Hmm.
Would they be squeaky teenagers or more surfer dudes or
Sprocket's definitely a squeaky teenager, and Maverick would be the older boy who smokes in the parking lot who tries to get the younger guy in trouble all the time.
right? Love it. All right. And then lastly, question five, I always ask if there's a dog organization or a service you'd like to give a shout out to, and that can be anything from a shelter, your sitter, your trainer, your groomer, anybody that you would just like to put a spotlight on.
Hmm. Wow. I mean, the ASPCA is always a good place to start. Hmm.
Throw it, the ASPCA's got a good national network that does a lot of good.
Probably the easiest to get a hold of, I would imagine.
Yeah, yeah. So come February 21st of this year, you guys will have your ninth full-length LP out, This Consequence. What can you tease us with? What can fans expect?
Well, with this one, we wrote it a bit more throwback, more like we used to when we were kids, 25 years ago, sitting in the same room with some ideas and hashing out songs all together, which we haven't for a long time. We've just done demos, and you just kind of send demos back and forth and judge them. This one felt like everyone had their stamp on each song, which is always a great idea. Makes it feel like everyone contributed to the entire record rather than a song or two here and there. And um, I think in that respect, this album feels a bit more like older material, maybe more cohesive with the song structure. I think. With this one, we really paid attention to a lot more sing-alongy stuff, really getting to the root of why people enjoy music in general, and the, just remembering songs as you go back to them and recalling the choruses a lot of it easier. Jesse fine-tooth combed about a bunch of the lyrics with this one, which was really cool. Went back after he wrote everything and rewrote a bunch of stuff, and I think it's all for the best. It's poignant, and a lot of it makes a bit more sense in this day and age and in this time that we're living in right now.
Is there a common theme that you can kind of point out, or there or a couple of common themes? To your point that in this day and age, what we're all wrestling with or faced with.
I'm also the graphic designer, so I did the cover and all that stuff. And the concept behind the cover is kind of the concept, I guess, behind the record, where it's um, futuristic material excavated from an old site. So the idea of us being smarter in the past and leading down this road of being getting stupider and stupider as we go along, and then uncovering these artifacts from way back when, and thinking back to yourself, we couldn't have been this smart. What what is this? This must have been left by an alien society because humans could never be this smart to do anything like this. The the consequence of society getting dumber and dumber,
Yeah,
so to speak.
yeah. But I'm sure you guys have a packed year promoting the LP, and best of luck with its success and hitting the road. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing the two eras with me of the dogs. It's always a pleasure of mine.
I appreciate it. Did you want to see Sprocket real quick?
Sure.
All right, let me go get him. Hold on one sec.
Oh my gosh.
His heart is going a mile a minute. Okay, hold
Sprocket,
on.
don't be nervous.
Hold on, buddy. Do you want to look into the camera?
Now, do
Oh,
Sprocket and Maverick's names represent anything?
Maverick would just be from
Top
the
Gun?
Top Gun, yeah, and Sprocket was just a buddy name, I guess.
Yeah.
Are you scared? You're scared.
Sprocket, you're a star. I
Yeah,
love
he
it.
wants down. That's it. You're all tangled up, buddy. There you go. There you go.
Thank you for that.
Thank you so
But I'll
much for
tell you
having me.
that. Thank you. This was great. This is exactly what I'm looking for in this type of show. So thanks. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Take care, Mike.
Bye.
Bye bye.